It's nothing. I took God for a joke, man, and he showed me. He showed me, you know. And I don't know. It's crazy how one choice in your life, just one, can alter your whole life. Just one. Because as a kid, this wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be married, have some kids, have a white man. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be a pediatric cardiologist and go to school and be a doctor. That's what I wanted to do. And somewhere along the line, like, I lost Jennifer. You know, Jennifer got lost, and she didn't want help. She just wanted to stay lost.
By the time she got to about 15, 16 years old, we started having some testing times, and that's normal for teenagers, right? And we went through a testing time, and my husband and he was always very adamant that, oh, this is just a phase. These kids go through this kind of stuff, but I knew that it was an attack. I just didn't know where the attack was coming from, nor how it was coming. And when she informed us that I no longer want to live the lifestyle that you raised me into, I want to live this lifestyle, one that represented totally different from what we believed, and that was that she was a woman of God filled with the power and anointing of the Holy Ghost to speak to a generation. And so I went in panic mode. Just want you to know I totally freaked out.
You know, I've had some issues in my past with church people, and my mom has had some issues. So I'm really funny about visiting new churches and all that. But I can honestly say, Word of Restoration, Pastor Charles Perry. I mean, literally, they love me. So everybody encouraged me. Okay. I didn't have to tell my story. You could see my story. I was a walk-in. I was it. I didn't have to say anything. But never once did anybody look down on me, say anything. If they did, I don't know about it. And my pastor made it known. Anybody mess with you, let me know. You know, it felt good to have a pastor who opened his doors to me, and I can call him on the cell phone if I need to, just to chat. You know, like, I'm going through it. I need to talk to you. So they're loving people. Like I say, I don't deal with people. You know, I've been hurt by people. You know, so I'm real funny about who I put myself in contact with, especially after going through what I've gone through. Like,
at that point, she was at an age where she was going to make a decision. So we said, fine, your decision. But you know what our house is. You know how our house operates. So it was an understanding that whatever lifestyle you choose, you're going to have to live it on your own out there. We will still be here, but we don't condone it, and we won't allow it into our home.
And we just received I tried to help her. I mean, I did everything. I had prayer warriors on board. We was constantly praying. I remember the first night she told us, I called her godmother. I called my spiritual daughter, which is Rosalind Brunswick McDuffie. She's deceased now. I called her, and we went into war zone. We went into prayer. We began to pray. We began to come against the enemy. We began to speak affirmations. And all the time, I was just so fearful because everyone else, even though they did not know, I knew what people thought about anyone that dealt with homosexuality or dealt with a lesbian spirit. They felt like, oh, this is the way it's going to be. It's never going to change, yada, yada, yada. All the things that people were saying to me just came into my head is that this is the life that we're going to now have to live. And God began to speak to me, and he said, what did I tell you? And I remembered in that doctor's office, and he said, this child will speak to the generation. And then I became angry with God. I became angry because I felt like, well, you told me that this child was going to speak to the generation. How is this speaking to the generation? And God began to share with me what the generation was going through. And I didn't want to see that. I saw it, but I didn't want to see it. I really wanted it to be outside of my family. Let my baby just be this nice little girl that's doing the things she's supposed to do, that's walking in the call of God, and just glamorous and just beautiful and just speaking to people and helping people through life in a nice, loving way, not in this harsh, demonic type of way. And that wasn't God's choice.
So tell me about how you did with raising Anaya in that lifestyle. Like, how did it affect her?
Oh man, it affected her big time. I didn't realize how much it affected her until like now, because now we have such a good relationship. Before, I neglected my kid. For these women, like I paid attention to her. I raised her. I did things I was supposed to do, but I wasn't there. We were always pillar to post, like sleeping at some other woman's house with her kids, and every woman I met always had kids and a baby daddy. It's like I kept running into the same type of women. It was a cycle, and so I was bringing my child around this cycle, and she was really disturbed. I was so blinded by what I was doing, I didn't care. I was doing what I was doing. I didn't see it, and so now the way she expresses herself, to hear the stories she tells, she wrote that cyberbullying book. She was co-authoring that book, and can you tell me I didn't even know that was going on with my child? Like, that hurt. Like, my kid is being bullied, and one thing I always believed in was protecting my seed. And to know that my kid had been talked about, picked on, I mean, it hurt. So me and Naya, we're just now getting back. We were always close, but you could tell she was wanting this other closeness, just us. Because when it was just us, we were good. The minute I tried to put somebody in our equation, it became bad. And so I took her through all of the everything. She's seen it all. Like, I can only imagine what's in her head, man. And so a lot of the things that she does suffer from emotionally now, I blame myself. Trying not to blame myself anymore, but I do. She deals with anxiety really, really, really bad. She deals with depression a lot, like a lot more than what people really know. Like, she calls me at nighttime when she's feeling, you know what I'm saying? So I know these things, but I blame a lot that she goes through mentally and psychologically because of the things that I've done and the things she's seen. So now I'm just trying to make sure that I just correct the things that I did wrong. Spend more time with her. Be a mother and not be worrying about who I'm with, because that's all I cared about. Who I was with, who I was going to be with. It affected her bad. And I try to get my mom and dad to understand that, but they old school. I don't think they really get our relationship, because when people see us together, you see us happy, but we go through it too. Me and Naya have that moment where I feel like I'm not the mother, but then I start having that moment where I feel like maybe I'm not qualified enough because I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's tough as a mother. Like, I had to give my parents my child because I couldn't get it together. Like, and I thank God for that, no doubt. I do thank God for that. They provided her the same opportunity I had, and she's taking it full force. Do you hear me? Mm-hmm. But I go through periods of shame. Like, I couldn't even give my child a good life because I was so wrapped up in this life. You know, it's more than just living this life, man. That life, it's a lot in that. Dude, emotionally, it's a lot. I've wanted to kill myself several times. I think I've tried. It just never happened. So I'm like, God, I must have a purpose. Man, I have to have a purpose. That's just it. So that was like a light bulb to me too, because I'm like, okay, this last time I should have been dead. Just at the end of the day, I should have been dead, and I'm not. I'm here. Like, he promised me something, and no matter nothing that I've done, he's still fulfilling his promise. I'm still here, 37 years later.
Through the power of the Holy Ghost, I had to resolve that. No matter what she did, whether she came out of it or stayed in it, I was going to be firm to what the Lord had told me to pray without ceasing. However, in that process, I almost lost me. I tried to commit suicide behind it. I lost friends behind it. People were whispering behind our back. I felt like here I am, a minister, and I can't even minister to my own child. And just all these different things that's going on in my head. But in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, I have to pray for this child because she has to speak to the generation. That's all I heard. And so I kept, no matter what happened, no matter what people said, I kept praying, I kept believing. My husband and I kept believing. And I don't know what he was feeling at that time, but you know, there wasn't a distance between us, but we had our own way of dealing with it. And mine was through prayer, fasting, supplication. I don't know about him.
Mine was accepting whatever God was allowing at this point. Years ago, I read what some people call the serenity prayer or the prayer of serenity. And I stand by that prayer. Lord, let me be able to change the things I can and the courage to change the things that I can. And allow you to do whatever it is you're going to do. Because you have complete control. And I've allowed him to have control. Outwardly, I look like I didn't really care. But inside, just it's a devastating thing to watch your daughter, your child, go through these things. But I believe what my wife told me, when she told me that this child will speak to the generations, I believe that. And I also believe that in order to speak to a generation, this generation, you can't tell them just stuff out of your mouth. You have to be able to tell them what you know for a fact.
Right.
And I consider this a process. A hurting one, but yet a process.
I gotta do this. It's just what it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no questions, maybes. No. I gotta do it. I don't have a choice. Because the next choice for me will probably be death. I almost died in this last situation, and man, just to think of who I was when I was there, like, it's crazy. You know, I looked at myself in the mirror one night. It was crazy. I was really high. And I was standing in my bathroom and I was washing my face because I was trying to come down. Like, I was like, no. And I looked up after the water washed off my face, and I looked in the mirror and I jumped. It scared me. And I didn't even recognize who it was in the mirror. Like, that moment right there. And this happened like right before I left the girl I was talking to. This was like November of this past year. And I was like, no, man, someone gotta give. And so I just started gaining strength. You know, my relationship with God is up and down. You know, I know he hear me, but I know he disappointed because I hear him. I hear him when he tells me he's disappointed, you know. But the old me just kind of like ignores it, like, it's nothing. I took God for a joke, man. And he showed me.
And it's just like little pigs. They don't know nothing until they go to the hog pen. So my daughter was not going to learn anything or make a turnaround until she came to that hog pen.
And it took us back to that time. Remember, at church, we always talk about the prodigal son.
Prodigal son, yes.
And how the son made a decision that he didn't want to be in the parents' house and live under their roofs any longer, and wanted to go out there and do what he wanted to do. And he reminded me also, he don't remember half the stuff he tells me sometimes, but I'm going to remind y'all. And he was saying that, remember the prodigal son? And, and I said, yeah, I remember, but she don't have to go through that. She can decide now. But there's one scripture that said, and it said, when he came to his right mind. So I just went back to that story, and I read that story, and I remember saying, God, the day she comes to her right mind, let that be her turning point. Let that be that day that she comes back home. And let us not be the parents that have given up or thrown in the towel. Let us be the parents that be there to catch her, to hug her, to embrace her, and to welcome her back into the fold of the family. Now I'm telling you, there were many times we thought that day had come, but it had not. Yeah. And we let her back in, and she'll go right back out there. We let her back in, she go right back out there. So for 1 year, the Lord told me not to allow her to have access to our home unless we were there, just to pray for her. Do not speak anything to her. Don't say anything to her about anything that she does, say or do. Just let her be her, and I continue to pray. And that was in 2016. 2016, and where it was December 2015 on my birthday. I can't remember what number it was, but I'm 62, 64, so somewhere around in my 62nd. And the Lord said, this is the year of transformation. For this whole year, you're not to do anything but let me work. And I said, God, I have been faithful for 17 years of praying and fasting and believing no matter what I saw with my eyes, because what I saw was so ugly and rude and just ugly and nasty and bitter and mean and demonic. And I asked the Lord, what do you want me to do? And he reminded me of Daniel, how Daniel began to, the angel of the Lord told Daniel, as you began to pray, I dispatched the answer. So back in 1980, when God told me that she would speak to the generation, and then in 1999, when all of this thing came to fruition, the Lord said, when you began to pray, I answered you. However, it was a hold up. It was something blocking her, something she had to go through. And I recognized that God was taking her through her process, through her transformation, through her timing. And we had to step back and allow God to do whatever God was going to do. But so that in 2016, I just stepped back and I just loved on her, but I never ever said anything about anything. And I trusted God through that process. And then one day she comes, she said, I'm tired. I'm ready to make a change. I am tired.
I couldn't do it anymore. I was tired. And it hurt. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, oh, it was cool, I was good, I just left. No, it hurt, because I left with nothing. I left everything I had, all the money I've invested. Like, I didn't even care about any of that anymore. It was just like, I gotta go. I started from rock bottom. I had nothing. I was sleeping on an air mattress for a long time. But it was cool. It was mine. I started to gain some peace. No doubt I had my days where I struggled, because I cried many days. I would call my mama crying. She said, you got to stop crying. Like, man, come on. I've been a crybaby all my life. They tell me that all the time. But I'm like, man, God, come on, man. Do you hear me? Like, I hear you, but have you been hearing me all this time? So, I don't know. It's just one of those things, man. You gotta just make a right choice. Period. There's no going around it. There's no halfway. I can't be halfway in, halfway out. That doesn't work, because halfway in, halfway out brings about those demons. And coming out of something like this, you're not strong enough to handle those things. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm still weak. My flesh is still weak. I'm okay to say that. You know, I'm like, Before I wasn't okay to say that. Now I'm okay to say that because I'm trying to heal.
We trusted God and we were faithful to God. We were serving in ministry. We formed a business. I went to school and got my doctorate. We took in our granddaughter because she had a child in this whole process. She ended up having a child, and we now have that child in our home, helping her to raise that child. And she's a young woman of noble character, and we're just thanking God for all that He's doing in and through us as parents. So as mothers, I just want to encourage you, don't stop praying for your children. Don't stop believing God. And I remember in Jeremiah 31, verses 16 and 17, and the scripture was talking about how Rachel was praying over her children. And the Lord said, stop your crying and stop weeping. He said, your children will return to their own borders. And I trusted God with that scripture. I said, God, thank you. Even though the tears may flow sometime, it's not like it used to be. I cry for all children now. I pray for all children and all parents. But we have to understand that if our children go astray, they will come back home. And that's what we stood on for these past 17 years.
As parents, if you have a child who has somewhat gone astray, I would implore you, never give up on them. Continue to go to the Lord in prayer. Because God is in total control no matter what. You got to remember, they were loaned to you to raise, to nurture, and teach them the ways of the Lord. So never stop. Continue to keep your arms open around them. Continue to love them. Don't ever shun them. Never talk down to them.
Yeah.
Just keep yourself open and wait on the Lord. That wait is a hard thing.
That waiting process.
But keep your faith. Nothing's going to work without the faith. And if the Lord told you something, He does not go back on His word.
Amen.
Baby, you are on fleek. I want you to know.
And we're not allowed to use that word. It's wrong.
Yes, girl, it's gorgeous. I'm just a cry, Jennifer.
Don't do that.
When she opened her eye, baby, and that sexy lash came up. They say that aha moment is when you actually realize something, whether it's in your life or just in everyday activities. I got that aha moment. In January of 2017, I chose to do something different. I chose to follow my calling. I chose to be that woman that God has created me to be. And that is possibly the best choice I could have ever made. Over the last 17 years, yes, it's been hell, it's been bad, but this choice that I made today, it'll last a lifetime. So I say this to say, don't give up. Don't think that it's not possible, because with God, all things are possible. I didn't just hear that, I learned that and experienced it.
This is my mommy. And honestly, I'm so proud of where she is today and her decision to change for the good, and that she made the decision herself instead of other people telling her, oh, you need to change, do this, the way you're living is not right. I'm glad that she made that decision herself, and I'm glad that she's happy and genuinely happy where she is. And I can be happy because she's happy. I love you.
I love you too, baby.
I love you.
And so we have it. Now you see what Partner to Empower is really about. It's about transforming and helping to make a difference in the lives of others. You know, Jennifer's testimony was so powerful, and just to hear her speak about her journey and to witness her mom praying over the last 17 years about what God promised her, and to see and be a part of the transformation and the manifestation of a promise from God was like simply overwhelming. So I want to thank our partners. I want to thank her parents. I want to thank Jennifer for allowing us to be a part of her transformation. And I just want to say, look out to see who's next to be empowered by Partner to Empower. Thanks.